and welcome to the class. Thank you for attending a very busy morning today. I posted a lot of events on my Facebook page, so probably you have seen my new events. So very busy this morning, and finally I organized everything, and these are the events for next week. So I apologize for all the posting. Yes, I realize I post a lot of events, and unfortunately you probably see in your feed a lot of events all the time. So it's the only way for me to create the event. So I apologize if you receive a lot of events in your news feed. I would prefer not to post so much, but unfortunately I think it's the only way to create the event on Facebook. Also, I'm posting a lot on Instagram recently, so hopefully that's not too annoying for everybody as well. So good morning. I hope we have no problem with the connection. I hope the Wi-Fi and the computer and everything is fine. We have a very rainy day today, so bad weather in Dublin. Not too cold, it's warm, but we have a lot of rain, so a typical day in Ireland. And the plan for today is probably very similar in the class compared to the other classes. The structure will be very similar to yesterday in particular. And welcome to everybody who is new. So if you are attending the class this morning, welcome, and thank you so much for connecting. And of course, welcome to everybody. I hope you can understand me. We have people with lots of different languages and from different locations, so it's a possibility you have difficulty to understand me. There are subtitles and captions available on Facebook, and hopefully the subtitles will help you. There are maybe some errors in relation to the subtitles, but the majority of the subtitles are correct, and maybe it's a good idea to follow with me in my class. I hope we have no big disruption. We have 6 people at home, so we have a busy house, probably similar to you. A lot of people are working from home, so hopefully we have no big distraction. And of course my dog is in the house today because of the bad weather, so you might hear my dog, of course, during the week and at some stage in my class. Okay, so I will share the screen, well, because here is the schedule. So it's very similar to yesterday. First we have an introduction document. We explain the grammar topics, and it's important to refresh and to talk again about the introduction to every topic in grammar. After the introduction we will continue with the list of phrasal verbs, and we continued yesterday, so today we will continue again with the phrasal verbs and also a list of idioms. So we will continue to explain the list of practice is very important if you want to connect with the meeting today, because at the moment I am on Zoom. I am using Zoom, but of course we are connecting to Facebook Live. So there's 2 possibilities. Facebook Live is no problem, but I cannot see your comments until later. So that's one issue with Facebook Live. So Zoom, I am using Zoom at the moment, and the code, if you want and if you prefer to participate with Zoom, the code and the ID is here on the bottom left, 820-3063-0026, and the passcode is 960256. So you're welcome to connect with Zoom this morning, and we can practice some speaking as well during the class. And if you have a question, you can participate using Zoom and practice some speaking. Okay, so that is possible, and you are welcome to join. Also, social media, of course, I have the Instagram page, and frequently I am posting, or recently I am posting more frequently, and recently I am putting more pictures of Dublin, pictures and video of the class, and also in the afternoon a picture of maybe some quotation or some phrasal verb or some idiom. So there are 3 posts per day. Maybe this is a lot for some people, and maybe it's annoying some people, but I need to be more comfortable with my Instagram posts. So the name is @mileora_inglés, and you are welcome to join on Instagram. YouTube, I have the same content of the free classes. every free class I post later on YouTube, and the material is practically the same. So some people prefer to use YouTube, and you are welcome to connect there. Okay, Twitter is the same. We have Twitter account with more or less the same material. Okay, so I'm just going to admit everybody, and now I'm going to share my screen. So that's all the social media, and I'm just going to show you now the introduction document, because this introduction document is very important. And I just see that my screen is necessary to be very small, so hopefully you can see here is the introduction document, and we have a little delay. Yeah, one moment, my Zoom is a little slow, so I'm waiting to make the screen a little bigger, and maybe it's not possible. Yeah, okay, so I think that's much better. Perfect. So the introduction document is very similar to every morning. If you are new, this document is very new for you, but other people are probably very familiar with this document. For me, there are 3 sections very important in English, and during my class I focus on 3 areas. Okay, the first area is use of English, the second area in yellow are the tenses, and the final and the third area is the grammar. Okay, so we have grammar topics, which is important. The tenses is also important. But for me, probably the most important is the use of English section. And in the use of English section, we have different English around the world. So we have different accents. An accent in Ireland, an accent in England, United States, Australia, and then also international people speak English. So we have lots of different accents, and this is very difficult for you when we learn English, because it's almost impossible sometimes to understand local conversation. Sometimes it's extremely difficult to understand native speakers. So for this reason, accents is a huge part to understand English, and probably the best advice is you should watch a lot of movies, you should watch a lot of videos in relation to people from different parts of the world, and that's very important. For example, my accent in Ireland, I have maybe 3 particular issues in relation to accent. For example, the U is very strong for me and very strong in Dublin. For example, Dublin, butter, bus, and phonetically it should be Dublin, butter, bus. So you have to be very careful with the difference. It's not a problem, it's not an error, it's just a reality of the different accents around the world. The TH is another possibility in Ireland, and for me sometimes it's like D, this, that, these, those, but phonetically it should be this, that, these and those. So it's just a peculiarity, and it's just important to recognize. And also the OU is important as well in relation to the accent in Ireland. For example, house sometimes is very strong, and some people have different pronunciations with the O and the OU. In this use of English section, we have phrasal verbs and idioms. So phrasal verbs for me probably are the most important when you learn English. They are very particular and very unique to English. Basically, the construction of the phrasal verb is the verb plus a preposition, and it's possible literal significance, but it's also possible completely different significance. And we have thousands and thousands and thousands of phrasal verbs. They're very small, and they are very difficult to catch, because the significance is maybe double. There's a double significance, and for this reason they are very important and extremely common in family, in friends, with formal situations, informal situations. Every situation we use phrasal verbs all the time. And this is just a little example of a list, but today I have a full document, and we continue with the document for the phrasal verbs. And on the internet there are a lot of documents, of course, available for phrasal verbs. You can find hundreds of documents online in relation to phrasal verbs, and it's a big important area to understand, because the majority of people understand grammar, the majority of people have a good understanding of English, but phrasal verbs for me are the unique ingredient, they're the special ingredient to really control and to really understand English. Similarly, with idioms. Idioms are like expressions, and of course we use idioms a lot in every situation, with family, with friends, in business, formal, informal. So idioms are like expressions, and sometimes an idiom makes English more entertaining. It makes the sentence more, it makes it funnier, and idioms are a big part of the use of English. Okay, so those two areas for me are really, really common and really important. And again, on the internet you can probably find for sure hundreds of links and hundreds of material, but basically in relation to phrasal verbs and idioms, they're the two areas. Okay, conversation and pronunciation, of course, when you are learning English, when you want to maintain your English, it's important to continue practicing conversation. Hopefully you have the opportunity to practice English conversation regularly, and hopefully you can improve, and I hope somebody can help you to correct your speaking, or to give you advice, or to give you little corrections during the class. It's a possibility. We have a few participants today, so hopefully during the class, if you have a question, you can raise your hand at any moment, and probably at the end also we will have a discussion just to chat a little, to practice some speaking. And maybe you can hear the rain at the moment. It's hitting the roof very, very hard. So a rainy day in Dublin, of course. And pronunciation is a big issue. We have some phonetic irregularities in English, so some of the pronunciation in English is irregular, and this is very important. During the class I try to identify some of the pronunciation difficulties. Okay, so for this reason, use of English for me is probably the most important area when you are studying English, when you want to really understand, when you want to really master English. For me, the best area to concentrate on is use of English, for sure. Okay, because the next section is probably more general. The next section is probably more understandable of tenses. When you speak, do you speak in the present? Do you speak in the past? Do you speak in the future? And in English, we have a few concepts in relation to the tenses. And at the beginning now, I just want to explain a few of the concepts, because during the class, it's important that you are familiar with the concepts. For example, the simple. We have the present simple, which is one action you do in the present, and it's usual and regular, like a routine. I drink coffee every morning. I play football in the afternoon every day. So something regular, something habitual is the present simple. We also have the past simple, which is one action you completed and finished in the past. The regular construction of the past simple is ed. For example, look in the present, I look. The past, I looked, ed. That's regular. But incredibly, we have a lot of irregular verbs in English. We have so many irregular verbs in English, and this is a big challenge and a big problem when you want to master English, okay? Because we have a lot of irregular verbs in the past. The future simple, we have two general constructions for the future simple. The first construction is will plus the verb. I will go, I will eat, I will drink. And the second typical construction is going to. I am going to eat, I am going to drink. That's the concept of the simple. One action, simple, that's completed in the past, that you do in the present, or that you will do in the future. The next idea is the continuous, the present continuous, which is one period that the activity happens continuously. And the structure is the subject. Remember, subject, I, you, he, she, we, you, they, subject, extra verb, auxiliary, extra verb to be, and the gerund of the verb. The gerund is the ing, so that's the present continuous. I am eating, I am drinking, I am speaking. Similar concept with the past continuous. It's a period of time in the past that the activity happens continuously. I was eating, I was drinking, I was speaking. And the same idea with the future continuous. It's the period of activity that continuously happens in the future. I will be eating, I will be drinking. Okay, simple and continuous. The next idea is the perfect. We have three important tenses for the perfect. We have the present perfect, we have the past perfect, and we have the future perfect. So the present perfect is usually the action that's completed, it's finished, but it is related and it is definitely relevant to the present. The construction is the subject, the extra auxiliary verb have, and the participle of the verb. Remember, the participle is the third column. You know, in school, go, went, gone. You learn the columns, so the participle is the third column, and the gerund is the ing form. So this is very technical vocabulary, but the gerund is the ing and the participle is the third column. So the present perfect is one example. I have eaten my breakfast this morning. So it's finished, it's completed, but it is relevant and is definitely related to now, because at the moment I am not hungry. I have eaten my breakfast. That's one example. The past perfect is the period in the time in the past, usually before another action in the past simple, and the construction is similar to the present perfect, but the extra verb have translates into the past. Okay, so I had eaten my breakfast before my friend contacted me. Okay, so that's the difference, little difference between the present perfect, past perfect, and the past simple. And sometimes in conversation they are flexible, so you can use maybe the past simple instead of the past perfect, but you just need to be familiar with the concept of the present perfect and the past perfect and the past simple. The future perfect is I will have eaten my breakfast before my friend contacts me. So again, it's the two actions in the future and the two actions in the past. The idea of the infinitive is very important, and basically the infinitive in English is the base or the foundation of the verb, and generally in English the infinitive is to go, to eat, to have, to drink, to sleep, infinitive. Because during the class I mentioned the word infinitive a lot, so you need to be familiar with the concept of the infinitive. The conditionals are a very particular area, and in the books when you study English the conditionals are a little heavy and the rules are very many rules, and sometimes it looks very strict and it's very depressing when you study the conditionals for sure. But in reality we have the zero conditional, first conditional, second conditional, third conditional, mixed conditional in the book, but I promise you maybe the vast majority of native speakers have no idea of the rules of the conditionals. So for me, my family, my friends, almost nobody really understands the rules, because, well, maybe they can speak for themselves, I don't want to insult them, but the rules are very strict in the book, but it's just very natural for native speakers. So it's very difficult when you try to study the conditional, but in reality I think it's less strict in conversation. I believe, in my opinion, it's less strict, and I believe it is a little more flexible. Basically it's depending on if. Okay, so if it stops raining today, I will go to the city centre. Okay, so if, and then the tense. If I met my friend yesterday, I would have spoken about the football. So in reality it's a little more flexible, it's less strict in relation to the tense, but in the book it's very strict in the theory. Okay, and during the grammar webinars we will discuss specifically the issue of the conditional during the grammar webinars on Monday afternoon. Okay, we also have the idea of the active and the passive. So basically the active structure is the subject, the verb and the object. That's the typical structure, and that's the active. And to create the passive we change the position. So you put the object at the beginning and the subject at the end. You introduce an extra verb to be and the participle of the original verb. So this is the active and the passive. In Spanish and Portuguese I think you have this structure, probably Romanian, in Thai, Vietnamese, I'm not sure, but it is a big possibility you have the structure of the active and the passive. And one example, the man kicked in the past simple, the man kicked the ball is the active, and then to create the passive, the ball, extra verb to be, was participle kicked by the man. It's just an interesting structure, and it's a little advanced, and it's very impressive when you use it correctly, and we use the active and passive frequently. So in my opinion it's definitely important for you to be aware and to be conscious of the active and the passive. Okay, so that's the second area that's very important. The final area is just grammar concepts in general, and I really hope the vast majority of you are familiar with these concepts already, because they are the foundation concepts of English. For example, noun, adjective, article, modal verb, preposition, adverb. So I hope that already you are familiar with these. Basically, a noun is a thing. For example, a person, a place, or a thing is a noun. For example, table, chair, television, house, head, nose. Noun, noun, noun. And every noun you need an article. In English we have two articles, a house, or the house. A is indefinite article and the is definite article. So there's two possible pronunciations, a or a. So there's no problem with the difference really in pronunciation. A house, a house. But the house is specific. When the noun begins with a vowel, the vowels are a, e, I, o, u. When the noun begins with a vowel, normally the general rule is you need an apple. Okay? The position of the adjective is normally before the noun, and the function of the adjective is to describe the noun. So the house, we need an adjective to describe the house. The big house, the small house, the expensive house. So the adjective is of course very important, and the position of the adjective is before the noun, because in Portuguese, in Spanish, the position is different. So this is very important in English, the position of the adjective and the noun. We have the adverb. So the function of the adverb is to describe the verb. The verb to drink, to eat, to go. The adverb typically ends in ly, quickly, slowly, happily, rapidly. So to eat, quickly. To drink, slowly. So the typical suffix and the typical ending of the adverb is ly. And the function of the adverb is to connect with the, to describe the verb. Okay, modal verbs are very important, and the modal verbs are used in English for a few particular situations. So you can see here the modal verbs can, could, may, might. Can is for ability and permission. I can play the piano. I can play football. It's my ability. Or it's for permission. I can enter the building. I can enter the room. It's permission and ability. Okay. Could, may and might are for possibilities. They are practically the same significance. Could, may and might. May and might are a little more formal and a little more polite, and they're for possibilities and options. I could go to the cinema. I may go to the cinema. I might go to the cinema. They are possibilities and options. Okay. Shall is typical for question. It's probably more formal, but it's definitely very, very frequent. Shall we watch the football? Shall we travel to Ireland? Shall we go to the party? The question will. Will we watch the football? Will we travel to Ireland? Will we go to the party? So shall and will are very, very similar, but shall is more formal and it's more polite, but it is very frequent also. Should is typical for advice and recommendation. So my advice, my recommendation to you, you should read more English. You should practice more English. You should study the phrasal verbs. It's my recommendation and my advice. The significance of ought to is exactly the same as should. So these have the same significance, but the pronunciation is difficult. It's ought to, but it's more formal and it's more polite. So you ought to read more English. You ought to study more phrasal verbs is the same significance as you should. Okay, so very interesting and very important. So the modal verbs are very frequent and they're a big part of English. And must is obligation. So my pronunciation of the U sometimes, for example, could be must, and that's phonetically a little different from the book. So must is correct, but the intention and the significance is obligation. You must collect the children. You must do the homework. You must exercise. It's obligation and you have no choice. Okay, it's the same significance as have to. So here you can see the second significance, have to. Sorry, I'm just going to move this here. So must has the same significance as have to. Okay, the most important thing about the modal verbs, the big golden rule with the modal verbs, the next verb after the modal verb is the infinitive. And remember, infinitive, to go, to eat, to drink. So after modal verb we have infinitive, but the big golden rule, it's necessary to eliminate to. Okay, so the correct structure: must go, you must have, you might eat, you might look, incorrect, you might to look, you might to have, you must to go, incorrect, incorrect, incorrect. So it's necessary, and it's an obvious error, but it's necessary to eliminate to after the modal verbs. There's one exception, maybe have to. Okay. Prepositions, of course, are so important. We have 150 prepositions approximately. They are little words, and sometimes they totally change the significance of the sentence. The prepositions are basically related to movement, to direction, and to position. So for example, speak, I speak in general, but direction, I speak to you. Look, in general, I look, but specific direction, I look at the television. So they're so important for direction or for movement. For example, travel across the country, and also position. So the chocolate cake is on the table, the chocolate cake is under the table, beside the table, in front of, behind, below, above. We have lots of prepositions, and they're very important for movement, for direction, and for position. Also in phrasal verbs, prepositions are a big part of phrasal verbs, and usually they are connected to emotion. For example, up is happy, positive, creation. Down is negative, depressing, sad, destroyed. Okay, so there's a big connection with emotion and prepositions in relation to phrasal verbs. The final area, which is very important, and it's a typical error. So basically we have three areas: possessive adjective, possessive pronoun, and probably the object pronoun. So here you can see the list: my, your, his, hers. So for example, my hat, your hat, his hat, her hat. But the hat is mine, the hat is yours, the hat is his, the hat is hers. Or give the hat to me, give the hat to you, give the hat to him, and give the hat to her. The area for his, her, his, hers, and him, her, that's probably the most confusing, and that probably creates the most errors for a lot of people. So I recommend for sure that you try to be very familiar with that area, and you try to understand it very clearly, because it's a typical confusion. So be very careful in the future. Okay. Also, the difference between this, that, these, and those is very important. Basically, this is singular here, that is singular in a different position away, these is plural here, and those is plural in a position away from you. So that's the big difference between this, that, these, and those. Also, you need to be very clear the difference between another, other, the other, and the others. Okay, so another is typical for a noun in the singular. Another coffee, another day, another week, another person, typically for singular. And other is typically for plural. Other people, other years, other days, other coffees. That's the big difference between another and other, and it's a typical confusion, so you need to be very clear. And also, the other is possible when you have a selection or a choice of two things. Do you want this coffee, or do you want the other coffee? So when you have a selection of two things, the other is very possible and very important. And then finally, with the S, the others is typical for a group of people. So do you want to travel to the city with us, or do you want to travel to the city with the others? So it's the other group. Okay. And this is a good example of my pronunciation, because the TH should be other. Really, phonetically, it's like other, but for me, probably it's like a D, other. So you have to be a little careful with me and with in Ireland with pronunciation, I suppose, for some people. And I can see the camera is blurring, the camera is focusing a little, so hopefully that's not a big problem. Okay, so they are the most important issues for the introduction today. Of course, finally, the concept of the suffix and the prefix is a big indicator and a big secret and a big tip to help you be more comfortable in English, because you always need to be very clear the difference in the suffix between the noun, the adjective, the adverb, the verb. So the suffix is very important to reveal and to show the form of the word. Okay, so for example, ance is typical noun, the importance. Ize is typical verb, for example, to realize. Able is typical adjective. Le is typically adverb. Pre is typically noun. before, pre-match, pre-concert. Anti is typical maybe adjective. Anti-smoking, anti-tobacco. And then im and un are typical the prefix for the adjective in the negative. So that area is very important, and it reveals and it helps a lot when you study English. Okay, good. And then writing is very important. So speaking is one big area of English. Grammar is another big area of English. Listening and understanding is another big area. Writing is another completely different area and very important. So writing is key, and you are welcome to write, and I can correct some of your writing if you want, and I can show the class, everybody, the corrections and the suggestions and the advice for the writing. So you are welcome to submit or to send some writing, and I can correct your writing, no problem. It's a good idea for everybody. The exam preparation, so exams are very popular and very important. We have the Cambridge exams, the first certificate, advanced certificate, and the proficiency. And I have specific webinars created for exams. For example, tomorrow at 4 o'clock we have a specific webinar in relation to the advanced exam, and on Saturday at 1 o'clock Ireland time we have a specific webinar in relation to the first certificate. Okay, so that is the important introduction for today. I'm going to close this so you're all familiar. Again, if you want to join the meeting, you are welcome. And just to maintain the meeting active, I'm just going to type a little message just to keep the meeting active, because sometimes Zoom disconnects when I don't expect. Okay, super. So now I want to begin and to continue with the list of phrasal verbs, because yesterday we studied a little in relation to the phrasal verbs, and today we will continue this document in relation to the phrasal verbs. You can see there are 20 pages, but in reality we have thousands and thousands of phrasal verbs. So this list is a very interesting list. Of course, you have a lot of lists available on the internet, but this is just one typical list from or for about phrasal verbs. Okay. So yesterday we finished with the I think we finished, let me see, one moment. We finished with H. Yeah, we finished with H yesterday, so we're going to move to, you remember yesterday we said hold out, hold on. Hold on is to wait. Hold out is typical negotiation, to wait for a better offer. So hold is very important for phrasal verbs. Now we move to page 11. And the final preposition with hold is hold up. Okay, so hold up is literal. It can be very, very literal. For example, the baby, I hold the baby up to the camera. So hold up is literal number one, but hold up has a completely different, like a delay. So for example, if I say there is a hold up at the moment, substantivo, noun, there is a hold up at the moment, the significance is a delay. If I say what is the hold up, the significance is what is the delay. So it's extremely, extremely common in relation to delay, and you can see the example here is very good. So they say the accident, this is the noun, and we have the article, held. So the verb to hold is irregular in the past. Hold, held, the traffic up for an hour. So that means the accident caused a delay for 1 hour of the traffic. It's extremely common in conversation. If you plan to meet your friend at 2 o'clock, but your friend does not arrive until 3 o'clock, your first sentence to your friend is, what was the hold up? What happened? What was the delay? What was the hold up? And your friend answers, I was held up in traffic. I was held up in the office. So it's extremely common, very small, very simple, but if you don't understand the significance, you are completely lost. Okay, so it's extremely important to understand fluent and native speakers for sure. Okay, unfortunately, the second significance of hold up is used in a completely different context. So they're the same significance, and it's possible in the context of a bank. If you have somebody who robs the bank, you have the thief or the robber, and the robber robs the money. So this situation is a hold up. So if in the bank there is a hold up, it could be delay or it could be a robbery. So it's typical a robbery, and I think it's connected to your hands. So if you hold up your hands, we say put your hands up. You know, when the man has the pistol or the woman has the pistol and a gun, put your hands up, and we say hold your hands up. So maybe this is the connection to the robbery. So to hold your hands up means to don't move. Okay, so here's the example. And again, it's the past irregular. So hold in the present and held in the past. So 5 men, and remember singular is 1 man and 2 men. So you have to be, of course, always very clear and very clear with the difference. So singular is 1 man and plural is 2 men. The same with woman and women. So we have 1 woman and 3 women. So it's very important, the difference between the singular and the plural. And in this example, 5 men is the subject, held is the verb in the past, and then the preposition held up, that's the phrasal verb. Held the bank up yesterday. The significance is 5 men robbed the bank yesterday. So it's extremely common. And number 1, it's typical for delay in context of traffic. There is a hold up, a delay in the meeting, you have a hold up. In the application, you have a hold up. So number 1, delay, and number 2, specifically in the context for the bank, it's a robbery. Okay, so very good example of phrasal verbs. The next phrasal verb for me is very, very interesting. I like this phrasal verb a lot. So first, on Instagram yesterday, my post was in relation to iron. Okay, so iron is a metal. Number 1, iron is a type of metal, and the expression on Instagram yesterday is to strike while the iron is hot. Okay, so to strike while the iron is hot. And when you make cutlery, when you make metal, the iron is necessary. For example, this ring, to make this ring, it needs to be very, very hot, and it needs to be really hot, and then you can shape easily. So when the iron is very, very hot, you can change the shape, you can affect a lot. So the expression to strike is similar to hit, como golpear. So to strike while is mientras, the iron is the metal is hot. So this is a metaphor to take the action at the appropriate moment to really maximize the result. So your manager is very generous, your manager today has the feeling very generous, is feeling very happy. So you take advantage, aprovechar, take advantage of the moment, and you ask your manager for a holiday. So you strike when the iron is hot. So it's the appropriate moment, number 1. The second example of iron is more typical in relation to the house. So at the moment we have 7 people at home, and my job with the family at the moment is to wash the clothes, dry the clothes, clean the clothes, and to iron the clothes. So this is my job all year, and that's the verb to iron. Okay, so there's a phrasal verb to iron out, and it's very logical. So if you iron the clothes, it means you make the clothes perfect. So to iron out, a metaphor, iron out the problem. Imagine you have the problem and you want to iron out the problem. So you want to solve the problem, you want to resolve the problem. It's extremely common in conversation. So I have a few jobs I need to iron out, I have a few problems I need to iron out, I have a few issues, so it's extremely common. And here is the example. Well, yeah, they say eliminate, so it's very, very similar. So here is the perfect example. We need, so subject, we, need is the verb, to have is the infinitive, because after the verb need, it's very typical, the infinitive. I need to go, I need to look. So typically after need, we have the infinitive. So we need to have a meeting is like a reunion. So the difference between a meeting and a reunion is maybe more for friends after a long time. and a meeting is more professional. Okay, yes, you can have a meeting with your friends, but it's more professional, a meeting. Okay, this week, in order to is so important. Okay, so in order to has the significance of the purpose. I go to the shop in order to buy some milk. I go to the shower in order to clean myself. So in order to is very advanced, very fluent, very comfortable, very frequent, but very simple. And the significance is basically the same as the infinitive. So lots of examples. And I go to the petrol station in order to fill my car. So it's related to order, the step. So petrol station, fill the car. So it's very important. And here we need to have a meeting this week in order to iron out the distribution problems. So they say eliminate, but I disagree a little. It's not exactly eliminate. For me, it's more to resolve or to solve. So again, it's related to problems. And if you iron out the problem, again, you solve the problem. It's logical. And most phrasal verbs, in my opinion, are logical. You just need to understand the significance of the first verb. Okay, very good. So I like that as well. The next verb is very, very specific. So Jack, of course, the name of the boy is Jack, number one. And in Ireland, in the football, we had a very famous manager, Jack Charlton. So Jack is a typical name. But also in relation to the car, in relation to mechanics, when you have a flat tire or you have a punctured tire with the car, you need the object to lift the car. So the object to lift the car is the jack. Okay, so that's a very specific word. The jack is the specific object to lift the car when you have a flat or punctured tire. Okay, flat or punctured tire, and tire is pneumatico, and I think there's a little delay with my Microsoft Word. Yeah, so my spelling is perfect. So you need a jack, and the phrasal verb to jack up is this expression. So the car, you need to jack up the car. Okay, but we use this in relation to informal situations. If you want to quit, and it's more typical in your informal conversations with friends, we say to jack your job. That has the significance to throw away your job or to leave your job. Okay, so to jack your job is possible, or to jack it in is extremely common in conversation, particularly in Dublin. I am sure it's very common with my family, with my friends, and the significance is to quit. Probably informal, but the significance is to quit. So for example, my job, I work in the shop and I'm not happy. The person is really uncomfortable in the job. So the person decides to jack it in, to quit. Maybe it's related to the same movement, to jack the car, because you take the job and you throw away. So typical in conversation, to jack it in, to jack the job in is to quit. Okay, but in this situation, to jack up is probably more literal with the car, and you can see the example. We need, again, after the verb to need, we have the infinitive to jack up the car before we change the tire. Okay, very, very good. And I think there's two spelling possibilities for the tire. I think the United States, it's maybe I-R-E, and the United Kingdom, it's maybe T-Y-R-E. Okay, but as I said, it is very typical in conversation to jack your job is to quit, and it is possible as well. An expression, jack the lad, is an expression for the typical stereotypical boy behavior. So if the stereotypical boy is maybe drinking beer, making jokes, saying silly things, that's jack the lad. He's a very typical stereotypical boy behavior or man behavior. So it's possible, jack the lad. And they are very, very typical in conversation, informal, those three. Okay, but number one, it's related to the car, to lift the car. Joke around, no problem. So the noun is a joke and the verb is to joke, and to joke with the preposition around maybe just means I joke with you, I joke with him, I joke with everybody. To joke around. Okay, So it's no real importance in the example. It just means to play or to have fun or to joke. Okay. Jump in, I think, is understandable and no problem, because the verb to jump is saltar in Espanol, of course, jump. And in a conversation, if two people are having the conversation and you decide to jump in, so preposition is important because it's in the conversation, the significance is maybe to interrupt or to participate in the conversation. So to jump in is maybe very dramatic and very quick, and it's quite logical, I think, no problem. Jump to is very good. So jump to conclusions is the expression. So my perception, I look at the situation, I see the situation, and my perception, I form a conclusion, I form an opinion. So maybe I only see a little part of the situation, but from the little part I jump to conclusion. So I make my opinion, I make my conclusion very quickly. So the significance jump to conclusion is you make your conclusion, you make your opinion, but very, very quickly. Probably too quickly. Demasiado. Okay? So here they say to make a quick. Poorly is like, obviously poor is related to money, but in this case it's related to thinking. So it means not thinking sufficiently. So yes, poor is related to money, and poor is possibly related to lack of quality. Okay, and this is a phrasal verb, think out. So think out means that you think about all the decisions. So if you have a project, you have a plan, you want to think out the project, and the significance of out is all. Okay, so to jump to a conclusion, to jump to a reaction, is to make a very quick reaction. So here, you should not. Remember, should is the modal verb for recommendation or advice. It's the negative. So my advice, my recommendation, you should not jump to conclusions. So my recommendation, you should not make your conclusions very quickly, too quickly, because you need to understand the total situation. Very, very famous, probably understandable, but very fluent. And this type of expression really helps you to increase your level and to be more similar with fluent conversations. Okay, keep around, I think, is no problem. And so keep and maintain and stay, there are three verbs very, very similar. To keep is possession. I keep my telephone in my pocket, I keep my football in my bag. To keep. Maintain is maybe to continue, maintain your discipline, maintain your but it's also possible keep has the same significance of continue. For example, keep going means to continue going. Keep eating, continue eating. Keep looking, continue looking. So keep, maintain are very, very, very similar. Okay, and maintain is maybe more in the house. I maintain my room. So I clean my room, I clean my area, I maintain my area. So they're very, very similar. And the significance of keep around, remember the preposition of keep, of around. So it's typical in the context of your friend. So you are very comfortable with your friend, you are very happy with your friend. So you have two options. You can leave your friend, you can forget your friend, or you can keep your friend around you. Okay, so to keep somebody around means that you want to maintain the relationship, you want to continue to see and to continue to have the friend. Okay, or it's possible an object. So it's possible a person, I want to keep my friend around. Or for example, this computer is very good, this is a very good computer, or this light is very good light, I want to keep this light around. So I want to keep this light. It's the same significance, but around just means close to you, okay, or near to you. And here's the example. They say have handy. So perfect example. I always, subject I, always I think is the adverb connected to the verb. Keep is the verb. Phrasal verb around, so it's connected, keep around. Dictionary is the noun, and the article for the noun is a or a. So I always keep a dictionary around. Infinitive, to translate new words. Very good example. And new is the adjective and words is the noun. So simple but quite good and quite typical in conversation. With the preposition at, this is interesting as well. So to keep at, remember keep is like continue also. So it's possible possession, keep, and number two, it has a significance to continue. Keep eating, keep drinking, continue eating, continue drinking. But if I keep at mathematics, I keep at exercising, I keep at geography, it means that you continue working, you continue studying. And here they say give up in Espanol is rendirse, or to quit, and it's the negative, to not quit. So persevere is very good. So to keep at your work, to keep at your job, to keep at your activity is to continue, continue, continue. Typically when it's a difficult situation, your advice is to keep at it, to continue. Okay, and the example is you should, again, advice, recommendation. My recommendation, you should keep at your studies. You should continue your studies because maybe it's a very difficult moment, but you need to continue, keep at it. So it's very simple but very small word, but very important. Okay, keep away is very similar, and it's like maintain the distance. So because of the virus, you need to keep away from me. The fire, you have a very dangerous fire and you need to keep away, maintain the distance. So the preposition away is important, so it's logical. Keep away from the fire is very similar from keep back. So the fire is very dangerous, you need to maintain back, so you need to keep back. Okay, so keep is very, very important. We have lots of phrasal verbs. You can see the example, keep the kids. So the kids is the noun or the subject, away from the cookies. So the cookie is like the biscuit. Okay, and the next example, keep back, it's an instruction. The burning building is about to collapse. And you remember, about is related to going to happen very soon. I am about to contact my friend. I will contact my friend very soon. I am about to have my dinner. I am going to have my dinner very, very soon. Okay, and here it's about to collapse. It will collapse very soon. Okay, and then here we have another example, to keep down. And keep down is logical. So again, it's maintain, and down is the preposition, and it's possible in school for volume. So when you're speaking in school with the kids and the children and everybody's chatting, and the volume is very high, the teacher says keep the conversation down, keep the volume down, like maintain the volume down, number one. It's possible physical. So if you are hiding from your friends and you are hiding, and your instruction is to keep to keep down is to stay down, to maintain down. So it's possible for volume, it's possible physical to keep down. And number three, the context is typical for vomiting. So very disgusting. So if you're feeling sick and you feel you want to vomit, but you want to keep it down. So for example, I eat my dinner and I feel sick, but I want to keep my food down. So it means to not vomit. So it's flexible, but with the same significance always. And that's the rule with the phrasal verbs. You need to understand the sentiment, you need to understand the feeling of the phrasal verb, and you can apply the phrasal verb in many different situations. Okay? Keep in, keep something in. So yeah, I ate, so this is the conditional with if. Subject is I. Eat is the verb in the present, and the past irregular is ate. So I eat in the present, and the past irregular I ate. Here is the conditional if. So if I ate that, so remember this, that, and it's probably related to food. Probably you need to say that chocolate, that biscuit, but it's not necessary in the sentence. This should be don't know. So this is a mistake. I do not know if I could keep it down. Okay, and then the next one is logical with keep. and in. So in is the drawer. So this is difficult vocabulary. So here's the example. When I am not using it, so it is substitution for the passport. When I'm not using it, I keep my passport in this drawer. So drawer is very important because the verb to draw is typical. The picture, you draw a picture, you draw a painting, number one, number two. But draw is like extract. So if in my hand, if I have an infection in my hand, I need to draw the infection out. If I wear, for example, on the street, I wear a hat and the hat is multicolored, it's very extravagant hat, I draw attention to my hat, I draw attention to myself. So it's like extract and attract, the same significance really. And you go to the ATM machine in the bank and you withdraw money. So to withdraw is very similar to draw. Okay, and in your house you have the drawer. Here is the pronunciation. The drawer is the typical in the table. So you have the kitchen table and you have the drawer. So the drawer is like the little cabinet, the little press. So this is specific vocabulary, cajón, I think in Espanol, and the drawer is the object. So you keep property, you keep your passport in the drawer. That's the significance here. So to keep in is no problem. But maybe in another context with the car, so you are walking on the road and the car is passing, and you are walking and the car is passing. Your friend gives you advice and says keep in. So, you know, be careful, keep, maintain, in, stay in. So keep, maintain and stay are so similar. For example, my passport stays in this drawer is understandable. So it's very flexible, keep, maintain and stay. So it's very interesting, okay? And then the verb to withdraw is a specific vocabulary typical for the money, for the ATM, to withdraw your money, or a competition. If you want to quit the competition, you withdraw from the competition, so you stop. And keep off, again, different preposition, on, off, and the significance is to maintain, and the substantive or the noun is the couch. Very difficult vocabulary. So the sofa has the same significance as the couch. I think it's common everywhere, but the significance of the couch is the same as the sofa. You need to be careful because the coach is the trainer. If you have a football team, you have a football coach. He is the trainer. Also, a coach is possible significance for a bus. Okay, so a coach is maybe for the airport in Dublin, the special bus that connects the airport to Dublin. This is the air coach. That's the name of the bus. So you can see the name is air coach. So a coach is possible a bus, and it's possible a trainer. There's two significance. But here with the U, it's the same as a sofa, the couch. So the preposition for the sofa, I am on the sofa. In the sofa, not exactly, because the sofa is a surface. So you are on the surface. So for every surface we have the preposition on, and I am on the couch. And this example is to keep. Remember, keep away, keep back, but keep off is the same significance, except it's the sofa. Keep the cat off the sofa. Keep the cat away from the couch. It's the same. Just a difference in the preposition, because the couch is a surface, we use on and off. Okay, so just interesting vocabulary. I think that's probably sufficient for the explanation for the phrasal verbs, and of course now is a very, very good time to practice some conversation, some practicing, some speaking. So the people participating in Zoom, if you want to participate, please raise your hand or put a comment. If you have a question, you can join the meeting, and you can hopefully now we can practice some speaking. It's a very, very good opportunity. I think we have a few people in the chat, so I'm just going to say active just to maintain the chat. But if you want to participate, please tell me and I can unmute you. Remember, social media, if you want to connect on social media, it's possible with Instagram. @miglioreinglés. It's also possible on Twitter with @migliora1. On YouTube, I have the channel as well. Everything is free. The teaching is free at the moment. I'm very happy to teach for free. It's a difficult situation with the pandemic. People have lost jobs. People are changing careers. And of course, learning English is very difficult. So I'm very happy to teach for free. It's a very good opportunity for everybody. And this is my idea in the morning for the free classes. If you want to support me, if you want to make a small donation to allow me to continue and to donate a little, it would be a very big support and a big help for me. It's possible by Bizum in Spain. It's possible by Revolut. You can see my telephone number for Revolut. It's possible by bank transfer. If you want to make a small donation of €1 or €2, it would be a very big help. Or by PayPal as well, it's possible. So this would be a very good support for me if you can help me, and it will allow me to continue working in this way. Also today we have a webinar. So today we have a specific webinar today at 4 o'clock in Dublin in relation to the IELTS exam. So everybody is welcome to join the webinar. It's at 4 o'clock. We will look at every part of the exam: speaking, writing, listening and reading. And my intention is to continue every week with the webinar. And you are welcome to join when you want. It's possible any week. If you want to connect, just contact me and we can confirm your registration. There's a small fee to join the webinar, but we have webinars every day in specific topics, and today the plan is for the IELTS exam. Okay, good. So if you want to participate, people in Zoom, please send me a message, and I will for example, I'm going to write in the chat who wants to speak. Does anybody want to speak? Okay, and you are welcome to ask a question, and you are welcome to participate now. So we will continue a little. And perfect, I see Mihaela. So we will contact Mihaela and I will ask him unmute, and hopefully we can understand. Hello Mihaela, how are you? And how was your work today?
Great.
Yeah?
Not too difficult because I just had a lesson today, and yes, I'm going back home. I'm still in the car.
And Mihaela, you are an English teacher, correct?
Yes, I am.
Good. So what was the topic today in your class? What did you do in your class today?
We had some preparation from exercises from the test that we are going to have on Monday, and we talk about what we usually do during the day.
Okay, perfect. And I see Lucas has joined the meeting, so I'm just going to connect with Lucas. So one moment, I'm going to ask to unmute because I think with the Zoom, hopefully you can participate. Lucas, can you see my requests to unmute? Okay, I'll request it again. Oh, perfect. Hello Lucas, how are you? Good. This is Mihaela. Mihaela, I think, is in Italy at the moment.
Hello, yes.
And Lucas, where are you from?
Well, I'm from Brazil, but I live in Ireland.
Ah, okay. And Mihaela, the weather looks fantastic in Italy at the moment, and me and
Indeed.
Lucas are suffering a lot here because it is raining a lot at the moment.
Dogs. By the way, there is another expression that you normally say in Ireland when it's raining a lot. Which expression is that?
Yeah, I think I heard you say it, cats and dogs.
Yeah, but there's an old expression. There's a new one that I forgot. A friend of mine said it to me, but I forgot.
Oh, Lucas, in Ireland we have maybe 1,000 expressions for the rain. But we have it's lashing rain, it's bucketing rain, it's raining cats and dogs. We have so many. But do you remember your friend's expression? And Mihaela, what is your plan for today? Because it looks like it's good weather.
Well, I'm I'm just booked an English lesson.
Ah, okay.
Well, I'm going to stay out a little bit to go out for a walk. Yes.
Okay, good.
Because unfortunately near me it's a river, so I love having long walks near the river. Yes.
Fantastic. We have a lot of rivers in Ireland, Lucas, right? And that's probably because of the rain.
Yeah, I usually have my walks in the morning. I'm living in the countryside, so it's good. I bring my dog for walks in the countryside, so she loves it.
Fantastic. And Lucas, have you visited Italy before?
No, I've never been to Italy before, unfortunately not.
Okay. And Mihaela, have you visited? I don't think you visited Brazil.
No.
Lucas, would you recommend to visit Brazil?
Yeah, I recommend that now.
It's not the right time for anything now.
Exactly.
Not right time, but probably someday in the future when we are like.
And Mihaela, have you visited England or Ireland before?
Well, unfortunately, something changed my plans last year. Someone invisible. So because of COVID, I had to cancel everything.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be there. I should have been there last year on April with my children, but because of COVID, I had to cancel everything. And no, I haven't seen anything in England, and I haven't been there. I hope that soon I'm going to be able to have that trip.
Absolutely, it would be nice. And Lucas, for you, has COVID affected your routine, or has COVID affected your work for you?
Well, at this time, I'm avoiding listening to the radio because we are surrounded by negative news.
Yeah.
So I was getting crazy at the start of the pandemic situation, but nowadays I'm trying to meditate a lot, taking some mantra, go for a walk with my dog.
Yeah.
But not really.
And in relation to work or study, did it affect you attending school or going to work?
Sometimes it's hard to pay attention when I'm studying. Like I was taking a marketing course, but like honestly speaking, I couldn't pay attention 80% of the lessons because I was like
Yeah.
not concentrating. It's really good. I really miss going to physical places and
Yeah.
interact more.
Mihaela, do you know anything about marketing? Can you help Lucas with marketing?
No, unfortunately. No.
Okay,
I'm
me
sorry.
neither. Is marketing difficult, Lucas?
No, digital marketing is not. No.
Is it
I'm learning Photoshop now and also editing videos for.
okay? I don't know. Is this related to Instagram, for example? A little,
Yeah, as well.
because I'm having.
Marketing is the way how you promote your business
Oof.
and also yourself. Because if you are in the market,
Yeah.
you need to promote yourself in a specific way to develop your business and also your strategic career. So marketing
Yeah.
help you with that.
Mihaela, I think Lucas could be very useful for me. I think Lucas, you could help me with my Instagram, because in the last few weeks I'm having a disaster. I'm trying to post, I'm trying to catch attention, and it's just very difficult.
No, for sure I can help you.
No, I'm only joking. Because Instagram is very popular nowadays.
Yeah, you need to check. Like where normally you have short videos and you have short introductions. Videos you catch more attention sometimes visually
Yeah,
instead of photos. Depends on your content.
yeah,
If you share videos, more attractive than photos.
yeah. And when you're very
Everyday tips in English, like every
Yes.
adjective expressions every day.
and when you're very ugly like me, I think pictures and videos are. No, but Instagram is incredible. There's lots of lots of things to do. So Mihaela, you have a little walk today. That's your plan.
Yes.
And
The first walk, I have to take my dog out now.
oh yes. So maybe you have the same type of dog. What dog do you have, Lucas and Mihaela?
I have a German pointer.
Mine is a combination of 3 or 4 types of dog. Yes.
Mongrel, exactly. Very
Do you
good
have
word.
a male or a female?
Mine is a male. It's a he.
We have a male mongrel. It's a mix between different races. Is it?
Yeah, that's actually very interesting because race we only use really for people. So in relation to the dog,
Yes.
we would probably say,
For dog breed.
yeah, exactly. Very good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, we say race in my language. So
I know. No, it's the same in Spanish, I think, as well. But Mihaela, a German pointer, do you know what that is? Because I don't.
Yes.
Can you explain a little? What is a German pointer?
Well, hard to explain
Yeah.
because I know how it is, but yes, maybe Lucas should can describe it better than me.
They are
Maybe
brown.
he can show him.
Yeah.
Normally they are brown and they have white, how do I say, munches? White things, white hair
Yeah.
as well.
Mancha in Spanish as well as like a stain. I think a little stain.
Stain.
Yeah.
Stain. So yeah, it's brown and white stain.
But I think stain is probably more negative for food. If I eat spaghetti bolognese, I have a lot of stains on my jumper. But maybe a dot,
But
is it circular?
no, she has a lot of little white hairs as well. She's brown, but she has little white hairs as well. Not really stained.
Yeah. Maybe
Some white hair.
maybe a patch. We have a specific word, a patch. P-A-T-C-H, a small patch. Okay, so in relation to the class, Mihaela, I don't know if you did you have any questions or any doubts from today's class?
No, it's been only 5 minutes, so I have to take a look on everything.
Okay, perfect. And Lucas, did you have any difficulty in the class today or any new vocabulary?
No, I just to donate. Where can I access the link to donate? It's on your Facebook, is it?
Oh, thank you so much. It's on my Facebook, and after the class on the Facebook page, I put the link and I put the picture.
The comments.
Yeah, exactly, in the comment section. But it's only optional. But thank you so much for that. That's very nice.
You're doing a great job. Thanks for helping us because it's very important for who's not an English speaker.
Yeah, exactly. And you speak very, very well. You're in a very good position. So you probably have studied a lot before. Is that right?
Yeah, I learned English by myself in Brazil when I was 16.
Really, really. And how did you do that?
Well, I didn't have money to study English when I was living in Brazil, so I decided to go to public libraries
Yeah.
to collect some books, English books, to start reading slowly, bit by bit, every day, and like going to public libraries to access the computer, to watch content in English with subtitles in my own language.
Yeah.
So very slowly, and that's how I learned.
But was it difficult to? I mean, you probably needed to practice speaking.
I was practicing with myself.
Fantastic. Yeah.
A dog, talking
Really?
to the wall.
Yeah, yeah. That's super. That's a really good example.
Yeah, that's great.
Um,
I still having problems to understand different accents.
Yeah. yeah, exactly. And at the beginning of the class, that's maybe one of the most important things. I say the accents are extremely difficult.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
husband is Irish, but his accent is different.
He's a general. He speaks very neutral.
Yeah, he speaks very neutral. Yeah.
Good. You're very lucky. Okay, Lucas and Mihaela, thank you so much for connecting. It's always nice to participate.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And have a really good day, everybody. And Mihaela and Lucas, talk to you soon. And
Yeah.
take care. Okay,
Bye. Thank you.
perfect. See you, Mihaela. And now I'll just press mute on Mihaela, and hopefully we can continue with the class a little if we want. And yeah, so that is a fantastic opportunity for people to participate, and everybody is welcome to join whenever you want. And hopefully we can do more of this in the next week. So thank you very much, everybody, for today's class. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a really good day. If you're in Ireland, have your umbrella because we have lots of rain, and hopefully talk to you soon. So take care and enjoy your day. Bye bye.